A couple days ago, I did my 10 biggest winners of the movie and TV industry in 2023. Well, now we're going to get negative, and we're going to talk about my 10 biggest losers of the movie and TV industry this year. Mainly movie industry, not as much TV. I think the strike kind of made the kind of TV industry not that volatile this year. But movies, we have a lot to talk about. And we're going to start off with my number 10 biggest loser of the year, and that's Dune Part 2. Yes, a movie that hasn't even came out yet is in my top 10 losers of the year. Moving from this November, right when the holiday season was beginning date, to kind of in March, early March, I think is going to be bad for this movie. I think it's going to be a time of the year where people aren't looking to go to the movies, and I think its box office is going to be heavily affected by that. Not to mention that kind of ruined the trailer aspect of this movie. I know we just got a seconded type trailer a couple weeks ago, but even with the holiday season coming, there isn't that much talk or emphasis around Dune. I feel like there's other movies that are coming out, especially around the springtime and beginning of summertime, that is going to overshadow Dune. And this date change is just a huge loss for this franchise. The first one did okay at the box office, not nearly as good as it should have for its budget, but the sequel was hopefully going to take the good word of mouth and build on that. And I don't think that's going to happen, just given the fact that this is now a weird March release. It kind of started with a trailer way too soon for that March release, and it's going to need a lot of momentum running to be able to hit that March spot and work well. Otherwise, people are just going to tune out of this movie, wait for it to go to streaming, and check out the other movies they plan to see at the start of the 2023 summer movie box office season, or other ones that are taking place in the springtime as well, or end of winter. My number 9 biggest loser of the year is streaming service wise is Max. Um, but previously was HBO Max, but now is Max. I'm somebody who I still enjoy Max a lot. I love watching HBO shows. They have a decent movie library, but they have gone through and they've started to, because of their low subscription model, because it's not really producing many new subscribers, it's not being profitable. They're now having to sell off all of that content that they were hoping would bring people into the service. The DC movies, all going to be on Netflix for the time being. Westworld and other HBO properties, off the service completely to try and not have to pay residuals to those products. Max as a whole is barely hanging on right now. I think for a lot of people, there is a prestige with HBO and Warner Brothers. Things like the Barbie movie is certainly going to help people want to watch things on Max, but with the writer strike kind of delaying HBO for a while, with old HBO hits like Westworld being taken off the service because they don't want to pay residuals to the actors in that spots, for one of their biggest blockbustery movies like the DC movies to now be on Netflix, I think Max as a whole is not performing where it should, and it'll be interesting to see over the next year or two what they do to change this stuff up. Is it going to see more things sold off? Are we going to see Harry Potter be sold off, not just with Peacock, but maybe on Netflix? Are we going to see HBO shows go on things like Netflix? I mean, Netflix now picked up a lot of HBO shows like Ballers and such that, it's just leaving the streaming service of Max. And when things like Friends comes up, when things like maybe Doctor Who, now that it's on Disney Plus for the new series, comes up, do they lose the BBC rights? A lot of question marks for me for Max, and I think it's one of the biggest losers of the year. Probably my number one loser for streaming services right now because they're losing parts of their library. And I'll go into another one later on here, but not a good year for Max, in my opinion. Nicolas Cage was kind of one of my actor go-tos. He kind of had a little bit of a resurgence, a Nicolas Cage-a-thon a couple years ago, but when you look at the two movies he really put out this year, Dream Scenario and Renfield, neither of those two really hit. In fact, his most memorable moment of the year this year was, I don't even know if he was actually acting in the CGI part of the Flash as a alter world Superman, or if that was just a fully CG character that they made to look like Nicolas Cage. Either way, that's what he was most talked about this year, and he's somebody that I think has gotten lost, and people are kind of like done a little bit back with him in this movie genre out there. I think we've heard him say he wants to go to TV, which might not be a bad move from him. But this is a person who used to be able to do a little bit of drawing of people into the theaters. But Renfield and Dream Scenario just did not do it. They were out there type projects that fit in that Nicolas Cage wheelhouse, but he did not bring in the audience like he has in the past. And I just think that's a big loser for him. I think we're going to see him again move to TV, which isn't that bad. He can definitely rebound as an actor and find a good TV program to do well, but he's somebody who said he doesn't really watch TV ever. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up in 2024, 2025, and beyond. But I think his days as a movie lead cast actor may be over overall. He might be having to be more supporting character likes. I don't think you can budget him as a lead in a movie, even a cheap ones like Renfield or Dream Scenario. There's just not that audience that's going to see him perform in these movies. Number 7, kind of bouncing off Nicolas Cage, but movies that are featuring older actors as leads. 80 for Brady, Book Club, both not great movies, but both didn't do that well at the box office given their budget. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I enjoyed that movie, but as I'll talk about later in another area, it had a way too big of a budget and it did not deliver anywhere close to the box office it needed domestically or worldwide to allow that movie to even get close to making a profit. It's clear in this day and age, as the audience for movies, I think, is starting to scale younger and younger, and older individuals are finding things like streaming or staying at home with their home theaters. Movies that feature these older actors are not doing what they used to be able to do. And, your Jane Fondas, Diane Keaton's, Harrison Ford's, even Tom Hanks a bit, we're seeing their lead prowess and their lead attention to bring people into the movie theaters go away. And I think it's they're kind of the biggest losers because they used to have at least a staple there where they can have their own niche and they can make their own decent amount of money. But as the audience for movie theaters are scaling younger and younger, and those are the people that are paying for tickets, the older actor leads are not working the way they used to be. And we're seeing it affect a lot of movies. It does not do well at the box office, whether they're good movies or they're bad movies. They're just not connecting and they're not interesting new people, and it's causing their movies to just kind of flop at the box office. Leading into another interesting, sad one for me, number 6, original movies. I always hear people like my dad say, "Man, I want to go to the movies and see something original." Well, original movies over year continue to just flop. The Creator was a wonderful original movie. Was it a perfect movie? No. Was it very original in its mindset? Was it a movie that they actually put a large budget into to give good visual effects and to really try and give the audience a chance to watch a original movie? 100% yes, but nobody went to see it. It was a flop at the box office. 65, another decently original movie with Adam Driver. It flopped at the box office. Knock at the Cabin. I know M. Night Shyamalan isn't he has his own brand, but again, another original movie with a decent cast that I actually enjoyed a decent amount this year. Kind of flopped at the box office. People will say they want original movies, but when you look at the top movies every year, Oppenheimer, based off a individual, a known story. Barbie, based off a property. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Marvel. Super Mario Brothers, based off an existing property. People want to see things they know already, and they want to see them on the big screen. And what's sad is there's so many original type ideas that can be out there, but you can't put money behind them to make these artists realize their visions and be able to bring people in. Even like adapted stories like the Killers of the Flower Moon, which is based off a novel, is probably pretty original to most people. It's struggled at the box office this year, despite it being a Leonardo DiCaprio-led movie directed by Martin Scorsese. It didn't pull. People do not want to watch these original movies that are going into the theaters anymore, and I'm kind of sad because as time goes on, are we ever going to get a big original hit that isn't linked to something else? It's going to take some. I know Barbie some people will say Barbie was that this year, but again, Barbie was based off an existing property. And even though the script was more original in that idea, I don't think that movie would be as popular if it was just that script with X characters. It being Barbie made it very popular. I mean, you wouldn't get I'm Just Ken if it wasn't Barbie and Ken. So I don't know where we're gonna go. I know there's a lot of more original type movies next year going to be coming out. Things like The Fall Guy. Um, there's a few others out there with more lead actors, but we'll see if they're able to stick with audiences, or are we going to get, only the movies that are based off existing properties succeeding at the box office. Because this year, original movies bombed and they did not go well. And if you're a movie studio right now trying to figure out how to make money, original movies might not be your way. And that's kind of sad to see. Number 5, Adam Driver. I'm somebody who really enjoyed his performance in Ferrari, but he has a B cinema score. It isn't doing great so far this week at the box office, and he's getting no award talk for his performance. On top of, like you said, a 65-led movie that bombed at the box office for the budget. He is somebody that went from being Kylo Ren and a very popular actor who could be prestigious, things like Marriage Story, to falling out of favor, I think, very, very quickly. I think people aren't drawn to Adam Driver. The projects isn't getting that much attention for award season. He's not getting much attention for award season, which he very much does care about and want to be in that mix, because every year he's in 1 or 2 movies that are very much Adam Driver going for an Oscar movie. I don't know if you can cast him as a lead in any of these blockbuster type movies. I don't know if he wants to be cast as a lead in blockbuster type movies after the kind of vitriol reaction that happened during the Star Wars movies as Kylo Ren. But his star as a actor, I think, is fading very quickly. I think we could see a world where we only see him being in art house pictures, and that's kind of fine, but I don't know if he has that acting pedigree in the eyes of people to support that type of lead role for an Oscar type movie. He might fall more into supporting roles. He might not be able to find himself pushing forward into lead roles of big franchises. I mean, there was a time where he was rumored to be Mr. Fantastic, but that has came and gone. So I think 2023 has proven to be a very bad year for Adam Driver, both at the box office and in award seasons. And, a few years ago, he felt like he was on top of the world, and he's quickly becoming kind of an afterthought in the movie industry when it comes to awards or people wanting to see him at the box office. And that's kind of my biggest criteria for a loser for this year. Speaking of somebody who fell from grace this year, Taika Waititi. Next Goals Wins was a terrible movie, and something that I thought might be an award scripted, screenplay for him was just not funny. It was really over the top. It did not resonate with many people. It flopped at the box office. He's lost his chance. They've taken him off Thor 5 as a project, and kind of in turn, he went out and kind of, some things I think were fair that he said, like he took Thor 5 so he could make money, but he was somebody who was in such a positive will over the years. Jojo Rabbit, Thor Ragnarok, other projects, and then Thor Love and Thunder kind of came out, and it kind of got weak. Next Goal Wins comes out, a very weak movie. He starts kind of attacking his main audience in the theaters. He was up for potentially, directing a Star Wars movie at some point, but he seems to be added to the list of directors from Lucasfilm that they're not going to make a Star Wars movie with him anymore. I don't know where he's going to go in the future with this, but he went from being one of the hottest and most interesting directors for a lot of people to somebody that people are turned off by, don't appreciate, and have negative feelings about. And it's kind of sad to see, because I think he does have such a great balance when he hits it right, with a sense of humor as well as dramatic acting and interesting storytelling. But I feel like he wanted to, he went really, really hard in thinking that he was going to be this Wes Anderson maybe type comic type creator, and he just wasn't. And it's just something that it's sad to see him fall so far from grace. An Oscar winning individual, a box office winning individual, to somebody that can't even win at the box office, and his fans are turning against him. I don't know what Taika Waititi has to do to get back on the right foot besides make a very good, entertaining movie. But he has lost the trust of a lot of people out there. And when it comes to directors, he is 100% my biggest loser of 2023. And it's a sad fall from grace for somebody who I loved his movies and was looking forward to his movies for so long, including Next Gold Wins. I was so sad when that was not a good movie and that was a very bad movie. But, it happens, it's a tough industry, and his movies were always riding a line of being brilliant or stupid, and they've landed more stupid on the last couple of years, and he hasn't reacted to it very well, and it's hurt his public opinion. Number 3, blockbusters. I only have 3 up here with Mission Impossible, Transformers, Fast X, but you can put things up there like Little Mermaid, Ant-Man Quantumania, The Creator. Trying to think of a few others. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. There's a ton of movies that came out this year that had this 150, 200, $250 million budgets. The Flash, Aquaman, The Marvels. Like, so many of these movies came out with these astronomical budgets, and the theater audience just did not support them anywhere close where they needed to actually be able to make money or have a profit. There's so many things, studios out there that even if you have a hit like Barbie this year, Warner Brothers would probably still have a negative box office here because Aquaman flopped, The Flash flopped, Shazam flopped. Wonka's doing okay, but it's not going to bring in any positive money. The Color Purple, a lot of money was invested in that for award season. It's doing well, but I don't know if it's going to bring enough money to be positive. Disney alone will go into that later on, but so many of their movies just way too big budgets that didn't make their money back. Fast X, that was like, after advertising, probably $400 million invested in this blockbuster, and even though it made a lot worldwide, it didn't come close to breaking even. Transformers Rise of Beasts, another one, didn't come close to making even though it had a safer box office. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning and Tom Cruise, a little bit bigger investment into that movie, ended up kind of flopping, mainly because it was right before Barbenheimer came out, and Barbie and Oppenheimer, as well as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and maybe Spider-Verse, are really the only blockbusters that were able to drive actual profits for their budgets. So many of these blockbusters that got put out this year only lost their studios $50 million, $100 million, $150 million. And it's just a type of genre that, was so popularized at the end of the 2010s, in 2018, 2019, when there were so many billion-dollar movies. We only have $2 billion movies this year with Super Mario Brothers and Barbie. These other movies that you would think make easily $700, $800, $900, $1 billion are all making $300, $400, $500 million, $600 million. Nowhere near close to the budget they need to have. Audience clearly wants to go to event movies they feel are big events. So putting out a $200 million movie that might look good and be entertaining, like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, was an amazing movie. I loved it so much, but it wasn't an event movie for the general audience like Top Gun Maverick, so it did not bring the box office like they thought it might. Fast X wasn't a great movie, played out franchise, wasn't really an event movie for people, so it flopped at the box office. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was a comic book movie in the Spider-Verse that felt like events that, you're waiting to see the story kind of be told. Guardians, it was the last movie for them with that cast. Spider-Verse was the sequel to a very popular first movie with a manageable budget. Both movies were able to be event movies for people, but so many blockbusters came out back to back that just were too big a budget, that could not support themselves, and have lost a lot of money in the movie space this year. And I don't know how it's going to change next year, because I think a lot of movies were already produced and made, but I guarantee you 2025, 2026, we're going to see a big shift in how movies are made, and I bet you blockbusters are going to be down a whole lot in terms of budget and how many we see throughout the year, because they were the biggest loser of 2023, in a year where we're hoping for the theater market to come back, the audience came out and said something different that I don't think they were expecting post COVID, which is not that they don't want to go to the movie theater, but they want to go to the movie theater for an event, or they want to go to the movie theater for something different than what we had previously. And we're going to have to adjust to it. But as far as I'm concerned, 2023 Blockbusters, the number 3 biggest loser of the year so far. Number 2, comic book adaptations. The Marvels and Aquaman here are both featured for me because they were both billion-dollar movies that came out pre-2020 that this year completely flopped. They're going to be losing their studios hundreds of millions of dollars and lost any and all interest from audience members. The Flash, another bomb. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, another bomb. Blue Beetle, again, okay box office not for the budget that it was at. Secret Invasion was a horrible received TV show that lost interest that I think fed into the Marvels. The only things that really survived this year for comic book adaptations that I would say that were good or survived popular opinion were Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Loki Season 2. Everything else was a major flop from studios, and audiences weren't going to see these movies. Ant-Man Quantumania is not on there. MCU lost their main villain Kang due to legal issues. Even still, Kang was not actually getting people to watch their movies or their shows or driving interest. DC came out at the beginning of the year and said, hey, all the movies coming out, if you care about connectivity, well, they're not going to connect to anything. We're starting brand new, so nobody went to go see their movies, and there really wasn't much interest in going to see their movies. And as a whole, when it comes to comic book adaptations for things, a lot of people are saying, pump the brakes. I don't really want to see these that much anymore. They're boring, they're tired, they're true. And what used to be, I think, the staple for the movie industry and theater industry to keep pumping in the box office, to keep pumping in the tickets, has completely shattered its foundation. And I don't know what we're going to see in 2024. Less movies, obviously. Deadpool 3 is really the only big comic book movie to come out next year. But things have to change, and it's very clear that what we used to be the easy money-making foundation that a lot of people were into, leading up to Endgame and even leading up to No Way Home, has kind of fallen out. And a lot of it could be dealt with, too many movies. A lot of it could be dealt with that they feel the same, not good stories. But either way, once you, like you see with DC, once you get people not trusting the adaptation, when you get people not interested, or they feel like they don't want to be a part of it, it takes multiple good movies to get people back interested in something. And I don't know if that's going to be able to happen for comic books moving forward. I think, Matt Reeves' The Batman series will probably be fine. I'm sure, there's some aspects of Marvel that may be okay, like Deadpool 3, bringing in a lot of stuff that isn't MCU based. But comic book adaptations are just the biggest genre loser of the year. And I don't think anybody can question that. And that leads me to my number 1 loser of 2023, Disney. If you were to tell Disney leading into their 100th anniversary year, they would have probably their worst year in decades when it comes to the movie business, they would be like, how? We have The Little Mermaid coming out. We have 3 Marvel movies. 2 of them are one's coming off $1 billion franchise. The other one is a hit franchise, and it's remained a hit. You have a couple of animated movies that are kind of our original hit. We're bringing back Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford and John Williams. They even have The Creator, which was done under like Fox's name, but it's still a Walt Disney movie, an original sci-fi type movie. But they flopped this year. Haunted Mansion lost them probably about $100 million. Quantumania, about $100 million. Little Mermaid, probably close to breaking even, if not anything, losing about $50 million. Wish, that's another almost $200 million being lost at the box office. Elemental, about $50 to $100 million being lost at the box office. Secret Invasion, which was just a streaming show, cost over $200 million to fund and make, and that didn't do well with audience members. So I would consider that $100 or so million wasted and lost. The Creator, another over $100 budgeted movie with, and after marketing, probably lost close to $100 million. The Marvels probably lost close to $200 million. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny probably lost close to $100 million. Their only kind of positive movie this year was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Everything else Disney released this year probably lost the money in the theatrical window, and because they have Disney Plus, I don't know if they're making up this money anywhere else. Disney has created so many issues, whether it's people that are anti-Disney brand that will refuse to go see their movies, whether it's people that, I think when it comes to animated movies like Your Wish or Your Elemental, whether they're good or not, a lot of the core base, whether it be families, just know that they could just wait for Disney Plus for this stuff. And Disney Plus in itself provides so many options for kids that they don't really need to go see the new movie. They can watch all the animated classics. They can watch all the recent animated hits and be perfectly content. They're not like, I need to go see Elemental. I need to go see Wish. We talked about the comic book movie Fallout. Little Mermaid, again, people weren't looking for an animated movie remake. And even though I quite enjoyed that movie, and I think Halle Bailey did an amazing job as Ariel, Melissa McCarthy was great as Ursula, it just did not get people out into the theaters. People would rather wait for Disney Plus. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, a movie with an older lead. Again, your older individuals went out a little bit, but the younger audience didn't care. The Creator was an original movie that, again, didn't, whether it's the time of the year it came out, whether it just didn't land on people's appeal, it didn't make money. And it's just, Disney has a lot of self-reflection to do. 3 or 4 years ago, they had like $6 or $7 billion movies all in the same year. And it was never thought of that they could even be replaced as kind of the lead movie studio out there. But they've clearly have lost the interest of fans. They have clearly lost control of their budgets. We're looking at, Quantumania, $200 million plus budget. Little Mermaid, $200 plus million budget. The Marvels, $200 million plus budget. I'm pretty sure Wish and Elemental were upward in $150 to $200 million budgets. Even Secret Invasion, a TV show, $200 million budget. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, $200 plus million budget. Haunted Mansion was like $150 million budget. The cheapest movie on here was probably the original one, The Creator. And to me, that's just crazy that these budgets have gotten so out of whack and people are just not going to see these movies like they were before. And I think with Disney Plus being so cheap and having everything available, there's no Disney Vault, people will just wait and watch all of the classic Disney products, and they will just wait to watch it on streaming. There's no need to go see it in the theater. And I don't know how they fix this. I don't know what they're going to do for 2024. Bob Iger has talked about a lot, but this brand is very damaged. And to come out of a Disney 100 year with a pretty embarrassing film load that only lost your studio money more than it ever had a chance to win. You might be even looking that they might have lost $1 billion in theatrical releases this year. I don't think anybody out there in the movie or TV space had a worse 2023. And it'll be interesting to see as the new year comes what changes get made, what people may get fired, what people may get new jobs, what projects will be greenlit. Will we see for animated movies more sequels like Inside Out 2, Frozen 3, because the original ones didn't hit as well? Will we see new leadership in a new direction under Marvel now that the Kang situation seems to be done? Are we going to stop seeing these animated movies be remade because they've kind of lost their luster? Are we going to see the budgets drop down to a reasonable level? These are all questions that Disney and other studios, but mainly Disney, has to answer, because 2023 was a black eye year for them. And if they don't change their ways, 2024 and 2025, 2026 will be there there for them as well. So, yeah. Tell me your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe if you somehow made it 30 minutes into this movie. Next up that I'll be releasing is the Joshkers, which will be my best picture, my best actor, director, actress, supporting actor, most of the main categories for the Oscars besides your shorts, your documentaries, and I don't do song. I don't listen to music very much, so it wouldn't be fair for me to do best song. But check that out this Sunday, New Year's Eve, and I'll be putting out shorts as well throughout the week, going over my 102 movie rank list. So if you want to see how movies rank for me during the year, again, follow and subscribe, and tell me who your biggest losers of 2023 are. I know Jonathan Majors could have been in here, but he wasn't worth my time, and I'll be honest about that. He just wasn't worth my time to mention. I think his career is going to be done because he was harassing his now ex-girlfriend, and you know he's a loser of 2023, but he didn't deserve to be talked about like that. So, but until next time, I will see you later. Peace.